Hey everybody, Scott Mann, founder and CEO of Stability Institute, a platform that brokers knowledge and connects stability professionals all over the world. And I want to thank you for dialing in today to another episode of Stability Television. And today, we've got another book review for you. And I think you're really going to like this one. The book review that we're doing is actually two books. The books are JIRGAS by Dr. Khan Idris. Now, Dr. Idris is an expert not only on Afghanistan, but also on the Pashtun tribes of Afghanistan. And the two books that we're going to be talking about today, the first one is JIRGAS, Pashtun Participatory Governance, and the other one is JIRGAS, The Pashtun Way of Conflict Resolution. Both of these books I found through my mentors in the Tribal Analysis Center, and I have used them for years, certainly since we started the Village Stability Operations Program. I have leaned on these books heavily, and I think anyone who's working in Afghanistan at any level will find these books useful. The two things that these books really address, kind of in our core brand of the Institute, are understanding local realities or appreciating local realities and bottom-up methodology. Those are two of the four things we really promote at the Institute, and certainly these two books really get at that. As we go into a post-2014 Afghanistan, I think one of the dangers that we face is, as we reset back to these regional and provincial levels, is dismissing the significant nature of informal civil society in Afghanistan. We can't forget that nearly 80% of the population still lives in rural outlying areas beyond the reach of the central government. And informal civil society, traditional society, is still extremely important to stability. And so as we go forward into 2019 or 2014 and beyond, we can't forget that. And we have to stay focused on that, and we have to continue to build our tradecraft and our ability to address that issue. When you think about the fact that almost half of Afghanistan's population are Pashtuns, and when you think about the fact that the insurgency in Afghanistan is mostly a rural Pashtun insurgency, even more important are these books. The Pashtun way of tribal governance is so significant in the contentious areas where the insurgency is going on that our ability to understand that really enhances our ability to promote stability in Afghanistan. So a lot of reasons to continue to focus on this kind of thing. Now, I want to talk a little bit about each book. The first one, the conflict resolution, JIRGAS, the conflict resolution model. There's a few things in here that I want to just point out now that will give you some hints on why this book is so helpful to you. The first thing is that it really gives insights on how conflicts are resolved in Pashtun tribal society. Now, anybody that's worked in the rural areas, the rural Pashtun areas, you know that there are tremendous tribal conflicts going on all the time. A lot of these conflicts are over scarce resources like land and water. People will kill each other over water. Families will kill each other over water. And throughout history, the Pashtun tribal system, the JIRGA, has always been the mechanism that basically resolves or restores relationships and weighs in when these conflicts over resources occur. And the JIRGA is severely damaged today as a result of Soviet occupation, as a result of the Civil War, and the Taliban, and even our time there. The JIRGA, the Khans who sit on the JIRGA, the elders, it's been degraded. And so conflict resolution as such has been degraded, and this has opened the door for extremists, such as the Taliban and others, to bring in Sharia-based law and shadow courts to replace what the JIRGA used to do. So understanding fundamentally how conflicts were resolved historically and what's going on now can give us an idea of what's possible in the future. So first and foremost, when you think about the extent of conflicts in Afghanistan and the potential for conflict resolution, this is key. A couple other things in here that I think you'll find useful. There's some really good information in here on the relationships between religious leaders and traditional leaders. So, for example, the relationships between mullahs and the relationships between khans or maliks. Not always great relationships. In fact, historically, there's been tensions between the mullahs and the khans. And these tensions can be very important to understand when you're working in these rural areas and you're doing bottom up or just doing straight up foreign internal defense. Even on the back of the book, you can see there's a depiction of the wheel of violence between elders and mullahs, and it shows how mullahs, often as opportunists, will exploit and actually fan the flames of jihad to spark violence in the rural areas and use it to seize power from the elders. So really good historical insights in here that give us some examples of what the Taliban are doing that has actually played out before in the country. And then third is the role of external elites in Afghanistan. You know, many times we'll face issues in Afghanistan as we're working through things where there's a logjam on informal governance or on conflict resolution, and external actors need to be brought in to resolve that. And understanding historically the role of external elites is very, very important, and this will give you some insights into that precedent. Now, the other JIRGAS book by Khan is Participatory Governance. This one gives a great holistic overview of all the stability functions that the JIRGA provides in Afghanistan, in rural Pashtun, Afghanistan and Pakistan. What do I mean by that? Well, we know that in informal civil society that the JIRGA is more than just governance. It's tied to security, it's tied to economic development and even information flow. The JIRGA is essential to all elements of stability, and this book really shows you how it's tied to that, and it gives really good examples. We've already talked about the governance piece in terms of conflict resolution, which is a big piece of governance. Economic development, you know, we've been quick to do cash for work and projects like that in Afghanistan where we've paid people essentially to clean their waterways. The reality is in rural Pashtun society, there is precedent called Hashar, where basically communities mobilize to do their own economic development, and the JIRGA is at the epicenter of this. And there's actually a case study in here where a community comes together and builds a guest house. And Dr. Idris takes you by the mosque, Hujra, takes you step by step how the JIRGA plays this role. And it shows you that bottom-up economic development has been well established in Afghanistan for years. It's been broken and damaged, but there is a model here, and understanding this model is key to legitimacy and credibility when you're working rural areas. So economic development is covered in here. The other one is security. You know, we talk a lot about Afghan local police, we talk a lot about VSO, but truthfully, you know, what really started all of this was the concept of Arbakai, or local security. You know, they're called Chawalesti and Chaga in other areas, but the key is that conflict resolution has to be enforced. And the JIRGA's conflict resolution enforcement mechanism has always been an Arbakai-like organization of young men from the village who enforce the decisions of the JIRGA. So that shows you that security is tied to governance. And that's very, very important to understand when we're thinking about Afghan local police and it starts getting bigger than the informal governance mechanism. Then you're basically decoupling security from governance. You're decoupling the essential tools of informal civil society that normally work in tandem. That's the kind of insights this book will give you on not only each of the kind of the functions of stability tied to the JIRGA, but how they work together. Finally, I will tell you, these are quick reads. I mean, you can get through these really fast. They don't take that long, and I carry them with me just about everywhere I go. They're great tools to keep with you. These books are available on the Tribal Analysis Center, tribalanalysiscenter.com, and also most recently they've become available as Kindle editions. So I really encourage you to check these books out, and I know that you'll get a lot out of them. So until next time, I appreciate you watching. This is Scott Mann, founder and CEO of Stability Institute, and thanks again for dialing into this book.